she told me what the subject matter was, being grateful. I said, you know what, I can do that hands down. I said, because every morning that I wake up being grateful and thankful for just having one more day to be alive. There's so many people who just take for granted having the breath of life. But right now, what I like for you all to do is just to take a deep breath in and let it out. Take one more deep breath in and then let it out. And this time when you take a deep breath in, I want you to take it in with everything that you can feel in your spirit that you are grateful for. Hold it right there. And then exhale all the gratefulness that you have inside. I had the privilege of being the director of community affairs and spiritual care for the Essential Campus of the Detroit Medical Center. And so in that role, I oversee the chaplains. And so when people see me, they often say, you don't look like a chaplain. And so I say, well, what is the chaplain supposed to look like? And they says, well, it's not what the picture looks like in the Webster's dictionary, that's for sure. And I said, okay. I said, well, what do you do? And I said, well, you know what? I care for people from the womb to the tomb and everything in between. I used to say, I can marry you and bury you and everything in between, but that didn't work out. But you know what? One day, that actually manifested. Because I was serving in my role, I was sitting at my desk just putting some things into the system, and my phone rang. And one of the nurses from hospice called, and she said to me, she says, Portia, our hospice chaplain is not here today. Can you come upstairs? We really need you right now. So when I got upstairs, I said, okay, what's going on? I said, is someone transitioning right now? She goes, no one's transitioning right now. There's a gentleman that's probably going to transition in the next few days, but he wants to marry his 22-year sweetheart. So they had the room all decked out and everything, and she had on a bridal dress, and he had on his jersey from the Lions and a cap on from the Lions team, and he's sitting there, and they had the music all set up. They had cake and ice cream, the whole 9 yards. And I'm like, okay, they've really got this wedding all planned out. So of course, the normal rituals that you say at a wedding, till death does us part, I let them say their own thing, And so after the ceremony was over with, everybody said, I can't believe that you were able just to pull something off like that. I said, you know what? I'm grateful for the gifts that God has given me, just to be there and be right on the spot. 2 days later, I received a call from his sister, and she said to me, she says, Chaplain Portia, I need you again. I said, what's going on? She said, my brother just passed, but before he passed away, he said to me, she married us, I want her to bury me. And so it went back to my slogan, I can marry you and I can bury you and everything in between. So I encourage all of you to utilize every single gift that you have and be grateful for it, because you just really never know how God is going to utilize you and your gifts. So one of the things that I encourage everyone to do every single morning is to write down at least 3 things that you're grateful for. And if you can't do it first thing in the morning, try doing it at night, because I guarantee you that something along the 24 hours that you're living throughout that day, something is going to happen to you that will either brighten up your day or challenge you. Anybody ever been there before, when you woke up and you're feeling very, very grateful and just like, I'm excited about this day, I can't wait for this day to start? And so one of the things I also pray for is that God will use me, that I will be in a position to be able to touch someone's life, either through a handshake, through a hug, through some encouraging words, through something that's just going to take them to the next level, or just give them hope, period. And at the end of the day, I write in my journal, these are the things that I'm grateful for today. And most of the time for me, it's more than just 3 things. So how many of you write down or just think about the things that you're grateful for every single day? Every single day. So guess what? I am going to invite you all to participate in this. This is my grateful jar. And every day, I put something inside that I'm grateful for. So if you have children or beautiful nieces, you can encourage, this is something that you can start over the holiday season. Something that you're grateful for, because we take it for granted a lot of times. Matter of fact, we're grateful just for the fact that we're all sitting with each other. Did you know that you're all miracles today? Everybody in this room is a miracle. The fact that we're having this conversation, the fact that we're able to eat, that fact that we're able to come together and do good for the community, that's a miracle. So we should be grateful for that. So every day I encourage you to write down in the morning 3 things that you're grateful for, or even 3 things that you're grateful for at the end of the day. Then one of the things that I do, because I try to write down everything, I am already excited about Portia's 2020 Grateful Journal. So I am going to be writing things down every single day, and I encourage you to do the same thing as well, because sometimes you may not be able to get to your jar at home, but you can use your journal, and all of us have those smartphones right about now, right? So you know the little memo section, you can either go to your memo, your notes, and write it down, or even the little memo thing and say, I'm grateful for this, and then you can go home and share with someone that you love and that you care for. And even if you're by yourself, it's just okay too. One of the other things that I want to encourage you all to do is just to surround yourself with other grateful people. It's nothing worse than being around someone that's murmuring and complaining all the time. Anybody ever been there? Where you're just around somebody, or they call you on the phone and they just go back into this whole, I can't understand why this is happening. The world is just coming against me. Everything is against me. They're just going on and on about all the things that are not right, as opposed to focusing on the things that are right. So it's very important to surround yourself with people that are uplifting and encouraging, who are grateful and can admit that they have something to be grateful for. One of the things that I like to do with my family and a lot of my friends, I have a sister circle. And what we tend to do is we get together and we stand in a circle. And we put someone in the middle of the circle. And we talk about, how we are able to affirm each other, and also the fact that I'm grateful for this person. So I can say today, let's just say, for example, if Russ was in the center of the circle, I can say, I am grateful that Russ has decided or accepted the calling on his life to be the president of the Detroit Rotary Club, not only once, but I understand twice. So we're grateful for that, right? That he stepped up to the calling. That's a beautiful thing. So we want to make sure that we are surrounding ourselves who can admit that they are thankful and grateful that they are healthy. We are thankful and grateful that we have people in our lives that love us, and a few people that like us, right? That's something to be grateful for, right? We're just grateful just to be here. And also, make sure that when you're speaking to other people that you're sharing the things that you're grateful for and be in a mindset to be able to listen. Because some people just really want someone to listen. Not necessarily as they're complaining, but someone to be able to listen and just be able to excel. Because you never know whose life you're going to be able to change or to be able to help, because you're in a grateful mindset. And you can just share with them some of the wonderful things and amazing things that God has allowed to take place in your life. So, as I mentioned before, I am one of the chaplains at the Detroit Medical Center, and so a lot of times I'm with individuals at the end of life. So about three or 4 years ago, I was called in to a family setting as the grandmother was transitioning. And so they were just kind of like having a really, really rough time celebrating, the end of life. And they didn't want to say celebration of the end of life, because my grandmother's been my rock, and she's been that person. She's been the matriarch of our family, and she's 95 years old, and we really want her to live longer and longer and longer. But I said, you know what? Let's not focus so much on the fact that she's transitioning, but let's celebrate and focus on how she lived her life and be grateful. So I said, so let's get a circle of gratefulness around Grandma, and before she makes that transition, let's tell her how grateful we are of her life. And so everybody started going around saying little things. Well, Grandma, I'm really grateful that you shared that macaroni and cheese recipe with me before you transitioned. Grandma, thank you for allowing me to come over and spend the night on the weekends when my parents were traveling a lot. Grandma, thank you. I'm just so grateful that you were here, and every time I needed someone to give me some good advice, you never judged me. You just listened to me. And so it went on, and next thing I know, everybody's just like feeling really, really good, because as Grandma was transitioning, she was able to hear and take in all of this energy of gratefulness. And so as she transitioned in the next few hours, can you imagine how Grandma was feeling? Isn't that amazing? The other thing is the more you practice the art of being grateful, the more things will happen to you. Because if you're always murmuring and complaining, guess what? Negative things are going to happen to you. But if we can celebrate the fact that we are grateful for what we have, more good things will come to us. So just imagine every day saying, you know what? I'm grateful for my eyes. Thank you, eyes, for being able to see all the things that I need to see. Thank you, lungs, for breathing, because without my lungs, I would not be able to breathe. I'm thankful that I have 10 fingers because there's so many people who are without fingers for various situations, but I'm thankful for my 10 fingers and grateful for my 10 fingers because I can do the work that I have been purposed to do. I thank you for my ears. I'm grateful for my ears because without my ears, I wouldn't be able to hear what you're saying, and I wouldn't be able to help you if I couldn't hear you. I am thankful that I'm able to stand on both of my legs to be able to get me where I need to go. Because someone may be out there without legs and they can't get to the places that they want to go as quickly and as swiftly as they need to or would like to. But the more we find ourselves in a grateful position or a situation, the more God will allow us to receive blessings and the more we're able to do more for other people. When I look at Penny, as she mentioned before, I taught her daughter, and I didn't know it at the time until we were just sitting here having this conversation. But also, my oldest son was a participant in City Year, and that's where I originally met Penny. And so I'm grateful for people like Penny who make a difference in our youth, because our youth is our future. And so with that being said, we also have to remind ourselves that it's really not about us, but to tell other individuals how grateful we are for them. As you mentioned before, when you were talking about your niece, you were talking about how she brings you hope and she brings you love and she brings you such encouragement and just makes you feel good. By her hearing that, she's going to want to spend more time with her uncle. And in her mind, she's thinking that you're the most amazing man other than her dad in her life. But sometimes when we don't share those things, guess what? No one ever knows. The other thing I want you to consider doing is monitoring your barometer of gratitude. And what I mean by that is when you are the beneficiary of someone else's kindness, make sure that you let them know and how much you appreciate that individual. The other thing is what motivates you to give. What motivates you to do what it is that you do, that you can be grateful for at the end of doing whatever that task may be. And then the other thing is when you just stand back and you're able to look and you can just feel the presence of gratefulness all around you and make plans for what you're going to do to be grateful in the future. Some other things that you're going to do to sow seeds into the community. So as you look around in the room right now, look into the person to your right, look into the person to your right, and you look at the person to your left, right? Can you say something positive about that person? You can do that, right? So before the end of the afternoon, I want you to make sure that you take time out to tell that person that you're grateful for them because. Just fill in the blank. Because it's easy to say I'm grateful for Russ, but Russ is like, well, what did I do? Let him know. Whatever it is that he was able to do. And when we spend time in the spirit of being grateful, it just feels good. Life can be really, really enjoyable when you're just in that space. One of the things that I was grateful for is when my sons were younger, we had an opportunity to go to Peru. And we were selected by National Geographic, and they selected 13 American families to go live in 13 third world countries. And so we were on an assignment to go live in Peru. And when we got to Peru, it was a little bit different than the United States. Anybody ever been to Peru before, right? So we're right up in the Andes, right? And so we lived with a native Inca family. And so when they took us inside of this adobe brick home, and they said, well, this is where you're gonna sleep. And we were looking at each other like, okay, there's no beds here. Okay, how is this gonna turn out? So we ended up sleeping, like I said, in an adobe brick home, and they said you're gonna sleep on this dried lambskin wool. We had our snowsuits, that was part of the assignment to be able to come. And every night when we would lay down, and we were inside of the barn, and they moved all the animals out of the barn. But late at night, we would hear something like, and we didn't know what it was, and so I went into my mother mode, and I'm like, okay, nothing's gonna happen to my babies. So little did I know that they were guinea pigs. They were running all around. And so I said, okay, how are we going to get through this? The next morning we got up and they said, well, today your oldest son is going to participate in helping us prepare the meal. Now in Peru, they believe in we don't waste a thing. So they selected him, and he was the one that had to shear the lamb that we were going to eat a little bit later on that day. And then my next son, he was the one that had to slay the lamb. And guess what Mama's assignment was? I had to clean out the intestines. That was my assignment, right? That was quite interesting. So, with that being said, we're thinking, okay, we've got 9 more days of this, 9 more days of this. And so my middle son had been saying for years and years and years that he wanted a dog. So over in Peru, one of the things that they can give you to show you how appreciative they are is a pig. So when they gave him this pig of honor, he said, I don't want a pig. I asked for a dog. And so we said, well, what are you going to name him? He said, well, I'm going to name him Dominique Portia Lockett. So one night, he lost the pig. And there's no lights. There's no electricity. There's no running water. And I said, sweetheart, it's a little bit late. I said, nobody's going to care if you don't find the pig. He said, but it's my pig. And if I don't take care of this pig, Dad says I'm not going to get a dog. And I'm thinking to myself, you're not going to get a dog anyway. But anyway, I had to play along with it, right? So anyway, next morning, the pig shows up, and he's very, very happy. So when we were there, they told us we couldn't bring any electronics. We couldn't bring anything but a journal and a piece of paper. And so every day, the boys had to write down their experiences for the day. When we got home, I had no idea that each one of them had pretty much written a book. But when we got back home, my middle son, he ran to the bathroom and he flushed the toilet. I said, what's that all about? The other one ran to his bedroom and just started jumping on the bed. We're like, okay, what is that all about? So when we're sitting down having dinner, they said, you didn't eat all of your potatoes, you didn't eat all of your greens, we don't waste food. So they came back with a whole different mindset. And I'm thinking to myself, how grateful I am that I was able to allow my sons to have this experience. Because sometimes when you don't have, you're so much more appreciative of the things that you do have. Not too long ago, I was with a friend, and she was sitting and she was having a discussion with me about all the different life experiences that she's had. And she began to share with me some of the challenges that she was having health-wise. And so we were talking, and I said to her, I said, if there's anything in this whole wide world that you could have, what would it be? And she sat and she thought, and she said, I want to have better health. She said, I've got all the money I need. I've got this 5,800 square foot home. I've got a wonderful husband. My children are amazing. I've traveled all over the world. But if I could just have good health, I would be so much happier. I said, okay. I said, that may not be where you are right now, but let's just be grateful. For whatever issues that you're dealing with, be grateful, because it could be worse off. And so often we forget that we could all be worse off than someone else. So a few days passed by, and she said, I need you to come over, and I need you to pray with me. And I said, okay, what are we praying about? She said, I want you to help me to be more appreciative of the things that I have. So we went through a process, and of course I said, okay, we're going to start off with the grateful jar, and then you're going to write down something that you're grateful for, in your grateful journey. And then as time progressed, she never complained about anything. She just stopped complaining. She said, I'm just grateful for what I have. And even if I don't see another day, I'm grateful for the day that I have today. I'm grateful for the space that God has me in right now. So what I encourage you all to do is just to be in the moment, be present, and be grateful for the fact that we're here today in this space at the Detroit Athletic Club in Detroit, not that far from the beautiful river of Detroit that oversees another country. How many places in the world can you look across the river and see another country? That's something to be grateful and thankful for, right? The fact that we're breaking bread together, the fact that we're sitting down and having this dialogue is grateful. When I look at your amazing faces, and I don't know you individually, but I can feel your spirits collectively, that you're full of love, you're full of peace, you're full of encouragement, you're full of giving, you're full of sowing seeds. You're about making things happen in the community for the betterment of the community. Not too long ago, a couple of years ago, I was invited to be a participant in a collaboration of a book entitled Delayed But Not Denied. And I was a little afraid of getting involved in writing a book, and I'm grateful for one of my best friends, Pam Perry, who is here. And she kept telling me, Portia, you can do this, you can do this. You started books and you stopped and you started. But maybe if you participate in a collaboration with some other phenomenal women, it can actually come to life. And so with that being said, I said, okay, so I began to write my chapter of this book of Delayed But Not Denied, Part 2. And once I began to write, I was able to heal myself from some issues that I was going through myself. And when I got through writing the book and I saw it and I saw the complete version of the book, all I could say to myself is, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that I was able to excel. And I know for a fact that the stories that are in this book have already touched the lives of so many individuals across the country. So I'll end with this. I'm grateful for each and every one of you. I'm grateful that I had an opportunity to come and talk with the Rotary Club. I'm grateful that I'm in the presence of this amazing president of yours, Russ. I am grateful that I am the mother of 3 healthy sons. I am grateful that all of my muscles and ligaments and tissues and organs, my red cells and my white cells, the bone and the bone marrows, the joints and my atoms in my body are all functioning in perfection as far as I know. I'm grateful that I'm able to speak to you and you're able to speak back and nod. And I'm just grateful, so grateful and so grateful that God will continue to use me as a vessel to go out and do good in the hood of the city of Detroit. Thank you so very much. And if you'd like to buy a copy of the book, I'll be over here at the conclusion.
Yes, over